Welcome to the Birth Room Podcast, where holy ground meets bare feet and the wilderness of labor enters sacred space. We are your hosts, Sydney Hagan and Nichole Smith. I'm Sydney, founder of Untamed Birth, birthkeeper and educator, mother of 3, 2 of which born unassisted at home.
And I'm Nichole, founder of the Rewild Birth Collective, birth servant and herbalist. I'm also the mother to 5 wildly wonderful children who were all born at home.
Together, we invite you into honest conversations at the threshold of life, where birth is not a medical event to be managed, but a holy unfolding, raw, reverent, and real, rooted in radical responsibility. The birth room is not one place. It takes many forms. Sterile halls, candlelit bedrooms, quiet tubs, moving cars or crowded clinics, linen sheets, plastic covers, or bare ground. But no matter where it unfolds, birth is holy ground. It is where the veil thins, the breath of God hovers close. In cries and stillness, in pain and power, birth is sacred. Welcome to the birth room. Stories, wisdom, and truth from the edge of life's beginning. Today, we get to sit at the feet of someone who has walked this path many times, not only as a birth worker, but as a mother of 5 herself. My co-host and dear friend, Nichole Smith, is here to share her story, her testimony, her journey into birth work, and the 5 home births that shaped her calling. This episode is more than a birth story. It's a weaving of faith, surrender, and the wisdom only experience can teach. Whether you're preparing for birth or reflecting on your own, I invite you to listen and receive its wild wisdom. Yeah, let's just jump right in.
Okay.
I'm really excited because I haven't heard all of your birth stories yet. I've heard little bits and pieces of some, but I haven't got to sit down with you and actually talk about all of your birth stories. So I'm excited.
I'm excited to share them. I was thinking about digging out all of my photos. My first photos are OG on paper.
Oh my gosh, how fun would it be just to do a little montage after the episode of all these photos? I was
thinking about that. That would be so cool.
So tell us a little bit about where you come from, your introduction into birth and motherhood, birth work, all that.
Yeah, so born and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm an only child because my mom's birth was quite traumatic. She actually had an ectopic pregnancy, and so I have a sibling out there that I'll one day meet. But only child, born and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I really became fascinated with birth in art class. We had to do, I think I was a junior. That sounds about right. We had to do a final art project for the year that kind of summed up what we had learned. And we had these different choices, and I chose to do a black and white drawing, a pencil drawing. Mm-hmm. And so we were looking through magazines for inspiration, and it was the year that Demi Moore was pregnant. And so the famous picture where she's covering her breasts and holding her belly. And I remember seeing that picture and just being like, this is fascinating, right? I'm an only child, so I wasn't around pregnancy and birth a lot.
Yeah.
But that picture just enraptured me. So I was like, well, this obviously is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'm going to be a birth photographer. Like, this is so beautiful. I want to recreate this 150 million times. Really, though, deep in my heart, I wanted to be a mother and I wanted to be a wife. Like, that was what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so, yeah, out of high school, I didn't plan to go to college. I told everybody that I was going to take a year off and develop my portfolio. And I attended my first birth when I was 18. It was a friend, and she had a hospital birth. It ended in a C-section. And I remember thinking that was the most horrible, terrible, awful, cold experience I've ever experienced. And it's not even happening to me. So I knew that I would never choose that for myself. But I didn't know yet, like, what was out there, right? And I'd only heard stories about our family is pretty small women, like short stature and small. We're tiny people. The women are, anyways. And I've always heard stories about how horribly my aunties ripped, and my birth, my mom's delivery of me, was just horrendous, and why she chose not to have any more children ever. So I didn't ever have a good idea or understanding of birth, but I knew that I would choose different. I just didn't know what the different was. So fast forward a couple years, in 2003, my best friend had a delivery, and it was a home birth, and I was her person. And
Doula.
yeah, exactly. Like, unknowingly, I'm just stepping into this birth work, and eventually, I can then look back and see that it was a clear calling on my life, and that God called me into this work very clearly, just not clear to me. But He knew what He was doing.
Well, all women are inherently doulas.
Yes.
You don't need to be certified to be a doula. It's just it's built into us.
It is. We're the nurturers.
Yeah.
We're the caregivers. We're the sisters and the aunties and the friends who have been through it and can help you get through it. Yeah. So I was just functioning in my role of best friend. And her birth was incredible. She didn't, I ended up being next to the midwife and just watching the birth, more than comforting. And it was so transformative. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Little did I know I'd be pregnant the very next year and delivering my own child. Just so incredibly transformative. So that was my kind of intro to birth.
So when did your faith become prevalent in your life, and did that kind of shape how you formed your birth philosophy and all that?
Yeah, so those two go hand in hand, really and truly. And my testimony is way too long for this podcast because it's going to be birth podcast. But my testimony in a nutshell was I was raised in a Christian home, but I would consider myself a false convert. I didn't really have a true conversion until I was 20. And lots of pieces, and long story short, I was truly changed and converted and fully sold out for Christ in April of 23. Found out I was pregnant in June of that same year. Found out that I was yoked up to somebody who was very heavily into drugs and just doing lots of wild things. And so made the choice to not stay in that situation. And in making that choice, I walked away from my life as I knew it completely. It was a 180. I had to completely remove myself from anything and everything that was, so that I could pursue being a mom and walking safely and faithfully towards Christ. And a big piece of that was my midwife. Yeah, so this is
that brings whole new meaning to midwife, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, truly, Seva, if you ever see this podcast, thank you. I am who I am today in large. Ooh, it's going to make me cry.
Oh, no.
Because of you. Yeah, so in walking away from my boyfriend at the time and that life, I remember my midwife said, well, what's your plan? Are you going to keep the baby? And I was like, well, of course I'm going to keep the baby.
Right.
It was never, this was the cool thing. In looking back, I was never afraid of being a mom. I was never afraid of birth. Truly never afraid. Like, so many women that I've worked with have real, genuine fears, and I just didn't ever have those.
What a blessing.
I just trusted. And I think in large because my first beautiful experience of a true physiologic birth happened.
Beautiful.
Yeah, before I was a mom, and it was incredible. I mean, it was transformative. So transformative.
Well, and it's a blessing that that's what you took away from birth rather than your first experience in a hospital.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you decided to, and not even intentionally.
Yeah.
Your mind decided that's how birth is supposed to be. That's what I'm going to carry into my births.
Yeah, well, and the first one ended in a C-section. So in my mind, I was like, oh, well, birth is birth and it's beautiful, and C-sections are awful, and we're not going to do that. And so maybe in my ignorance, I somehow separated the two. But yeah, it just wasn't even a thought. So anyway, of course I'm gonna keep this child. I'm like, I'm gonna be a mom. This is my goal. My end goal in life is to be a mother and a wife.
Yeah.
Which I've succeeded in doing. So she, of course, some events, like I had to do STD testing, and I had to make a lot of decisions that I wouldn't normally have to make if I wasn't a new single mom. But she just held my hand and walked me through it and loved me through it, and it was the most amazing mentorship, friendship, kindness. It was
how midwifery is supposed to be.
How midwifery is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Truly, the picture that I had of midwifery in my first account was the perfect embodiment of a sweet, kind, wonderful, amazing midwife.
So would you say that kind of shaped how you...
Oh, absolutely. I think back to Seva every time I'm at a birth. She comes to mind.
So, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh. So home birth obviously was always your plan.
Yeah, always my plan.
Yeah.
My first was born at home. Should we get into that, or do you have other questions about...
Well, I did want to know, what was it like? I guess it depends on where you were and the people that surrounded you during that time. But what was it like kind of going against the grain 20 years ago, having a home birth with a midwife?
Yeah, so I wrote down some statistics, and I think back about this as well. My best friend grew up, she was adopted from India, but grew up in Germany and Spain. She's Swiss German by adoption. And so for them, home birth was normal. And so of course, when she fell pregnant, she would choose that. I mean, it wasn't even like, you don't consider hospital, you just have a home birth. And so again, in looking at God's perfect timing and his perfect weaving and just all the little puzzle pieces, for me, who comes from this culture of sign up for the drugs, get the episiotomy, all the things, to choose a home birth was wild. Which I feel like is kind of my nature and my personality. I tend to go against the grain just in general. Where was I going with that? So I looked up some statistics because I was like, what? How did, other than God, right? Like we know he's orchestrating this, so of course I'm going to give him all the credit. But only in 2004, which is when Declan was born, 0.56% of births were home births.
Oh, wow. In the United States?
In the United States. 0.56%. And it increases over 20% by the time I have my next child. But that's a tiny little, that's a 0.5% of home births were happening. So again, I can only give credit to God for this, because with my family dynamic and everything, it didn't make sense that I would choose home birth. So to answer your question, everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody felt compelled to share all of their horrible stories. I have an aunt who, she and I look more alike than my dad, who is her brother. Even more than my mom. I look like I could be her daughter. And she had 2 babies. We are similar in stature. She's very small. And both times had tears through her rectum so badly that she had to be assisted with all the things for many months, and still struggles to this day with her body.
So just to kind of give some perspective on that, what was the birth culture like when they were giving birth? Like, what was the norm when they were giving birth?
Yeah, so my grandmother, born in the 20s, went through the whole scope of birth being handed over to the obstetric world, twilight sleep, no husbands, no support. Forceps. At one point, one of her babies was being delivered. The nurse was actually laying over her like the sardine twisty can and rolling to push the baby down. Strapped down. One of her births was that way. And it's interesting because she doesn't often talk about, and I of course ask her, like, Grandma, tell me the story, I want to know.
Well, it's traumatic. I don't imagine she wants to talk about that.
All of them were traumatic. Her last birth was placenta previa, and the placenta was delivered before my uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's a genius, so all things worked out for him. But yeah, my grandpa, she said, would drop her off on the corner of where the hospital was and go find parking, and she would have to walk, and she just remembers that walk always being treacherous. So that's one thing that she often brings up. And then she'll talk about Darren's birth the most, which was the last. But they were all traumatic. All of them were traumatic. And so then...
Well, she might not even remember some of them if she was doing the twilight sleep.
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't. All she remembers for the oldest one, because she was in twilight sleep for that one, she remembers waking up, and it had been like 3 days since she had seen her baby. Or since she had delivered her baby. So it was the first time seeing her baby. 3 days. 3 days after delivery. So who knows what they're doing.
I know. Yeah, that's scary to think about, though, that obstetrics used to be, and it's still not great, but it used to be that bad.
Yeah. Which, you think about the curve and you feel like it's so long ago, but really...
It's not actually that long ago.
It's not that long ago. Yeah. So then all of her kiddos, and my mom's era, it's starting to level out. We're getting into the delivering in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And they're kind of giving this feeling of like, we're giving you back a little bit of your autonomy, but they're still being shaved. They're being given enemas. Episiotomies are routine. Every one of my aunts had an episiotomy, and every one of them ripped from stem to stern. And they didn't have big babies. I was 6 pounds 8 ounces, and same thing for my mom. So yeah, it's pretty sad culture regarding birth.
Yeah.
But very much sold out to the hospital and do what your doctor tells you was the culture of what I was going through. So interesting story, because I had left my relationship and my home and all the things. I moved back in with my parents, but I went to Albuquerque every weekend. So I stayed with my grandparents on the weekends and lived with my parents on the weekdays. And because I'm planning a home birth, I planned to have my baby in Albuquerque. at my grandparents' house. It's a beautiful house, big, spacious, and all of the people that were so concerned ended up being there that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was cool because it was, for me it was formative, but for them it was redemptive.
Right.
And they got to see a beautiful, natural.
Were their minds changed after that?
Oh,
or
100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And all of them were like, wow, we had no idea that birth could be like this.
Yeah.
So,
oh, I love that.
yeah.
Oh, man, that's beautiful. So tell us about that first birth, since we're already kind of talking about that a little bit.
Okay.
Leading up to it, expectations,
Yeah.
preparation for motherhood as a single mom.
Yep. So I was so blessed. My family, friends, church family, through baby showers, and I was a teacher at the time. So just very loved. I went into my motherhood well supported and well prepared. So I worked right up to the deadline. I think I left work that Thursday. Declan was born March 7th. So the 5th, which is the home birth that I had, that I attended with my friend, she was born March 5th. So
Oh,
literally a year later, we're in the same
that's amazing.
situation, same midwife.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Very special timing. And that date actually holds more significance as I started my midwifery journey, which is really cool.
I love it.
Okay, so I left work Thursday. Felt like, yeah, and this is 10 days early. 10 days, he was born 10 days before my due date. So I went down to my grandparents, and I'm just kind of hanging out, getting settled in. But Saturday morning, I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I didn't get any photos like I wanted to get. And I wanted to recreate, of course, the photo, the Demi Moore photo.
Oh,
so I called.
Did you?
Oh, yes, I did.
We got to get that one.
I think I did in almost all of my pregnancies because it was
I love that.
I'll have to get that drawing out too at some point. The drawing that got me to birth.
That's awesome.
So I grew up with 3 sisters who are my sisters by choice. So I'll refer to them as the Books girls. But Tasha, the oldest of them, I called her and said, will you please come and take pictures of me before, I deliver? I'm sure I felt and I knew subconsciously that I was going to be delivering. So she came over and we took a bunch of pictures, and it was such a beautiful, fun day. Lots of laughing, it just was fun. It was a fun, beautiful day. So we did that all morning, and then we had breakfast burritos, which, if you know anything about New Mexico, green chili breakfast burritos is kind of a staple. You got to have breakfast burritos. So we had breakfast burritos and orange juice, and then she went, and I was feeling really tired, and I just was like, man, I just got to lay down. So I laid down on the couch, and interesting, I look back now, my grandma, we used to have those flannel waterproof pads, and she's like, why don't you just put this under you in case your water breaks? She had a white couch.
Oh.
Yeah.
So more so about her couch than you.
Yeah, really. But she must have been seeing some signs or noticing something about me.
Well, I mean, women are intuitive.
Yeah, that I didn't even notice. So she's like, just put this under you. So I'm like, okay. So put the little pad on the couch, and I take a nap. And I woke up to what I thought was like an audible pop and my water breaking.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I get up, and I'm like... And I didn't say anything. I just quickly went to the bathroom, and of course, water is flowing. So I'm like, oh, my water just broke. Like, this is so cool. And there's a little tinge of pink. So of course, I call my midwife, and she's like, okay, well, as a true wonderful midwife, they gave me the rundown. Like, make sure nothing's protruding, and labor will come. So just go about your day. There's no worries. just carry on with life, and labor will happen when labor happens. I'm like,
Love
okay. So I did. I put a pad on, and I just did my day. I don't even remember. I think I probably like washed the last bit of laundry and got the room prepared.
Were you
and,
really
like,
excited the whole time? Like,
oh yeah, so excited. This is the thing. Like, I truly never had fear. Zero.
Yeah.
None. Nada. No
what
fear.
about in the birth? Like, once you started feeling those contractions, even then?
No.
That's amazing.
None. No fear. Zero. None.
And that's how the fear, tension, pain cycle works.
And that's exactly how it works. And my labor was very short. It truly, because I had no fear,
Yeah.
it just progressed beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So that was at 5. Oh, and she did tell me, she's like, make sure you go to bed. Like, I know you just took a nap, but when it's bedtime, go to bed. So I tried, and I'm like laying there, and I'm like, eek, that's so exciting, I can't go to bed. So I called Tasha at like, I don't know, probably 10. And I was like, my water broke, and I'm supposed to go to bed, but I'm too excited and I can't sleep. Will you come and just be with me? So, of course, she came back, and it was a big, beautiful full moon. We were at the foothills of the mountains. We go for a walk, and still nothing. I may be feeling like light contractions, but nothing to write home about. It's like, I don't know. This doesn't seem like anything.
Just getting you more excited.
Yeah. Oh, I'm totally like pumped. Well, Tasha's getting tired, and she's like, how about we just go lay, and we can like just lay in the bed and talk. And so we did. We laid and talked, and we grew up together. She's just so dear. She's just such a treasure to me. So we had really good conversations, which I'm sure we're getting the oxytocin flowing, right? I didn't have a partner. I didn't have a husband.
Well, she acted as your partner.
But she was, in every sense of the word, except for like the sexual piece. My partner, she just loved me so well. So labor started at some point, and this was true for most all of my labors. I didn't really have a lot of early labor. I just went pretty quickly into active labor. Was that a pain tolerance thing? Maybe. Was I just not really counting early labor as anything painful? Also maybe. But labor started right around 4 in the morning, and
after no sleep?
Yeah, really no sleep. I probably slept for maybe like an hour, if that. I can't even remember sleeping. Like, I'll have to ask Tasha. I should have asked her before we came here, because she probably remembers things more than I do. But labor started, so I let Seva know, and she's like, okay, probably assuming first-time mom, it's going to be 20 hours or whatever. So yeah, labor started, and I was in the throes of it, but it was, people around me could tell that it was moving quickly. So I think Seva got there around 7 a.m. And they set up the birth pool, and I remember getting in, and there's this one picture of me, and I'm just laid over it and just totally surrendered, and her student, who was a doula but training at the time, was just like petting my hair. And I remember in that moment thinking, this is the most beautiful moment of my entire lifetime.
Aww.
Like, this right here, it just, like, that will just
you have
always,
a picture of it.
Yeah, it will just be frozen in my mind. Clearly, it was not transition time yet. But it was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I remember getting out, walking down the hall. I'm sure at that point in transition, the bed that my grandparents had was this huge poster bed with these thick, sturdy wooden posts. And at one point, I remember just grabbing onto that and squatting down. And then after that, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Transition. So I get back in the water, and I remember just crying, like, can somebody just get in here with me? I just needed to be held tightly, because I felt like I was getting to the end of my strength. And so somebody, like, come and hold me together.
Yeah.
And so my mom did. She got in with me. And And then very quickly, I was leaned back at one point. Very quickly, I got on my hands and knees. And something to know about Tasha, she has a normal arm, and then she was born with like a little short hand. And so poor Tasha, instead of like holding her sturdy arm, I am holding her little hand.
Oh my gosh.
While I'm pushing, and I'm sure she felt like I was going to rip it right out of her socket.
Oh my gosh. Did you ever talk to her about that afterwards?
Oh yeah.
What
And
did she say?
She was like, yeah. So I was holding her little hand, and then she was like holding me back from ripping that out of her body, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
I remember my eyes being closed and like clenched and just kind of surveying my body. And I literally felt like my back was going to explode open, and that I was going to die. And surely that was the end of my life as I knew it. And then Declan was born. I mean, just very beautifully, and easily born. So I was on hands and knees, like leaning over the pool, holding on to Tasha. And Seva received him, put him on my chest, and he went from like, normal baby color, pinkish, to darker and darker and darker blue. Mm-hmm. And I remember her just so calmly saying, "Oh, he has a cord," and she just took him and unwrapped it and put him right back, and then he pinked up and everything was fine.
I love how calm.
Yeah, my mom later, she was like, I was freaking out because she could see the color changing.
Yeah, of course.
And they're all used to, oh my gosh, a cord, it's an emergency.
Uh-huh.
But she just handled it just so beautifully and just put him right back. And so, I mean, that birth was, again, just one of the many transformative moments in my life as a birth worker. At that point, I was hooked. I remember getting in the bed and looking at Seva and thinking, like, I'm going to do what you're doing.
I love that.
That was the nail in the coffin
and
for me.
And you basically are.
And I am. Here I am. So many years later, my heart was to become a midwife much sooner. But again, mother and wife. And I don't regret anything. I don't regret the process. I don't regret how long it took. I'm thankful, in fact, to be at this stage in my life and doing what I'm doing, because I could never have done that and raised my kids well. And I feel like I have so far. So I'm thankful for that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So,
should we touch on postpartum psychosis, or should we save that for its own little...
Let's save that for its own little thing, because we have 4 more births to get through.
Yeah, I have a lot of children. Okay.
But that's coming in another episode.
Yes.
Is all the postpartum
bits.
Fun.
Yeah.
And not fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But postpartum really is my favorite, honestly, aside from the birth.
Yeah.
Pregnancy is not my favorite.
Oh, I would be pregnant. In fact, I was going to bring it, and then I forgot. Declan's story is in Gentle Birth Choices, the book.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 2004, and the couple years following, water birth was becoming more and more and more popular, and Seva was kind of on the spearhead of creating space for water births. And so, what's her name? Harper is her
Barbara.
Barbara Harper, thank you. And Seva were friends.
I love that.
Yeah. And so just like context of the culture that I was stepping into unknowingly. And she asked if she could interview me after I had delivered. And so his story is in that book.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Beautiful. So bringing it into your second birth, like what was that like leading up to it? What were some key differences from your first?
Yes. Well, so I had been a birth worker. So soon after Declan, just to quickly like tie the pieces together, I got my doula certification. I went back to school for child neuropsychology or development from conception to age 3. So really specializing in the mother-baby symbiotic period of the first 3 years of life.
So you met your now husband.
Yes. Yeah. Quick story on that, because again, God truly is in all of the details of my journey in birth. Really, it's fascinating now having 21 years to look back on. So the Holy Spirit, I was nursing Declan, and I just felt this overwhelming get up and go outside. So I did. I got up and I went outside, and this young teen mom is walking up the street, and she has my now niece with her, and we get to talking because Emma runs up and she's like, baby, and I'm like, oh, where do you live, and whatever. So she tells me that she's pregnant. She's 3 months pregnant, and this is her niece. Her other sister is also a single mom. So we just get to know each other, and so I become Jessie's doula and her childbirth educator, and I get to know the Smith girls, and then through them I meet their brother. Jessie keeps saying, you got to meet my brother, and I'm like, no, I'm not meeting your brother. And then I met her brother. So she knew. Yeah, so it'll be 20 years next year, 19 in December. But yeah, so the difference between Declan's birth and Darcy's, I've been a birth worker now for 4 years. So I've attended quite a few births, and I'm married. I have my own home. Like, so many things go into making me feel more stable just as a human. So I was bracing for the worst because I had postpartum, borderline postpartum psychosis, severe anxiety with Declan postpartum. And so I was worried that I was going to experience that again. But I didn't. So with Darcy, and I'll just say this too, so it's out of my brain. Declan was 10 days early. Darcy was on her due date. Kezia was 10 days early. Clem was on her due date. Tegan was 10 days late. So like this pattern happened. So Darcy comes on her due date, but I had 3 days of prodromal labor and some bloody show. It was Easter. I had bloody show that Sunday, but nothing really to write home about. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and have like an hour worth of contractions, and I was like, oh, this might be it. And then it would fizzle out. My midwife with her Emily Fry, lived an hour away. So I knew that I needed to be, my first labor was only 7 hours. So in knowing, second baby, usually a butter birth, I'm already having pretty significant bloody show. I lost my mucus plug. I knew it was probably going to be a quicker delivery. So that was on my radar. And so kind of the same thing at midnight. Although this time, my grandmother, who we'll call Gigi, just for the sake of knowing the grandmothers, was at this birth. So my other grandma was at Declan's. Gigi was going to be at this birth. So she came and stayed with us in case Declan woke up and needed something. So she was there. And my water broke at nope, I'm just kidding. My water didn't break with Darcy. No, it didn't break with Darcy. Just kidding. Labor started, I woke up and I was in active labor.
Wow.
Yes. Because it was a 3-hour delivery. And maybe even probably, it was right at 3 a.m. that she was born. So, I remember some differences. I chose a water birth with Declan, so I wanted to do a land birth with Darcy, just so I could have the two. And I'm a birth junkie at this point, so I'm checking my dilation. I wanted to know all the things, right?
Being your own midwife.
Yeah, but not midwifing myself. Just I'm so curious. Yeah. So I remember just wanting to feel the whole time the progress and being oh snap, this is going to be fast.
Yeah.
This is going whoa. And this is Josh's first birth, realize. And remember, for me, it's my second, but for him, this is his first time.
So he probably didn't have time to freak out since it was only 3 hours.
No, there was no time to freak out. No. So I remember this space was dark, which I loved because I didn't feel like anybody was looking at me. And this is the common thread with all my deliveries with Josh. His strength, knowing that he was this big, strong man. Also, he smelled so good at every delivery. I just wanted my face in smelling him. I know, it's so weird, but that was what I wanted my nose like right in his armpit. Like, I want to smell your goodness.
The pheromones.
Yeah, like seriously, the same love that got him in gets him out, right? Like I just remember like his smell and his strength in those moments of transition where I felt like I was gonna lose it. Knowing that he was bigger than me and stronger than me somehow was like, oh, okay, like
he's like literally twice your size.
Yeah. So that was such a comfort to me, just knowing like his hands could literally like hold my hips together if I need them to be held together. So this is like a fast and furious birth. She was born OA, which means like her head was in the right position. She did have a Nichole hand, and her finger was actually inside of her eyelid.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Tucked in her eyelid, which, if you know a baby's eyelid, like, how she did that, I'm not really sure. But, yeah, it was in her eyelid.
Interesting.
I was on my hands and knees again, kind of in running start. So one of my legs was up. So I was on one leg down and one leg up. And he was sitting, we had a couch in our room. So he was sitting on the couch and I was leaned over him and like holding on to him and he was holding on to me. And I remember at one point they said, reach down and feel your baby. And I did, or maybe they didn't tell me, but I reached down and she had a 4 bag of waters over her head. So it was like a water balloon sensation, but you know, the membrane, so it was slippery and smooth. And I, in my mind, couldn't figure out why they put a glove. You know, sometimes we fill gloves with warm water.
Yeah.
Why they put that in my vagina. I was like, get that out. Why is that in there? And they're like, well, what are you even talking about? And so that was one like comical thing that afterwards I asked them, I was like, so why did you put that in there? Like what? And they were like, no, that was just her head and a 4 bag. But I was so in labor land and it was so fast and furious that I couldn't think logically. There just was no time to think logically.
Yeah.
I remember at one point I tried to get in the bathtub and I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. Because it was just so fast. I remember pacing and moving and just constantly moving until I was literally just took me to my knees and then I delivered. The midwives did get there. With a little bit to spare. I think there was like 45 minutes, maybe an hour from once they got there until delivery. And it was just perfect. She came out, this was the other thing, she came out so perfect. There was like nothing on her, no blood.
Oh, wow.
Her hair looked perfect. Like she just was clean. She was just so clean and she was this little angel human baby, just so perfect.
That's probably really great for Josh.
Yeah. And so I delivered her. They tucked me into bed, tucked us both into bed, and he fell asleep. And I remember just laying probably for like 2 hours and just staring at her and just being in awe.
Yeah.
And that was at 3 a.m. So we slept until like 7 or 8, and then life happened as
generally
usual. Uneventful. So perfect, so beautiful. Declan came in, met his sister, we cuddled. Like, it just was such a perfect, beautiful, wonderful delivery.
So do you feel like you were more confident going into this birth?
I think I was more confident in my first because I, again, had no fear.
Yeah.
And in general, I'm just kind of confident, probably like I'm just like, okay, like, it's fine. Let's do this. This is what I decided, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
I think for sure my confidence goes down so in my third, I have an OP baby. And I think after experiencing that, my confidence goes down. So
let's go ahead and talk about that one then.
Yeah, so that's Darcy. So Kezia.
This was your really eventful one.
Yes. Okay, so, and also to give context, Declan in New Mexico, Darcy was born in Virginia, in Mount Solon. And so now we're moved to Maryland and having our third. So, Kezia. And I won't mention the name of this midwife just because I don't feel like it needs to be mentioned. But,
well, and it's not going to do anything.
No, it just, I feel like in watching one of our training videos, I don't know how far you are in, but when a midwife makes a bad choice or does something negligent or wrong, the community at large tends to pull back and be like, oh, avoid her. She's got the red letter of shame. And I don't want to ever be that person.
Yeah.
So I was convicted by that. Anyway, so all that to say, I'm still doing birth work. I'm still attending births, really getting established in Maryland. So Kezia's delivery was similar to Declan's. I went into labor in the wee hours and delivered at 10:30 something. Her name comes from the Bible, and so I determined that I wanted to have her on the 14th because it would make her name match the verse reference in the Bible. And so she came that day. All my babies were born on a full moon or a new moon, and I can't remember which one was the new moon, but so labor started. My water did break with her. I was laying in bed, felt the pop sensation, got up, went to the bathroom, and for sure my water had broken. So thinking that I had just had, 7 hour, now 3 hour, I wasn't sure what this delivery was going to look like, but it kind of did the same thing, like fast and furious. I was in active labor almost immediately, with very little time to even think. So we called our birth team. I had a friend who was just becoming a doula, Stacy Siegel, if you watch this. She acted as doula for that birth. And then I had one friend from church who was a nurse. And looking back now, some of the comments she made, I think were fear-based, like she was afraid. But again, I was never fearful. I trusted birth. It just works.
And so how we know that like people bringing fear into the birth room can still affect, and
I think it does.
Barbara Harper actually says what you think her body feels. So even if you didn't necessarily have any fears, do you think her bringing those fears in affected anything in your birth, and maybe why that might have been a little bit more eventful?
Yes, and I think that as it progressed, those comments stuck in my head and caused me to have fear.
Yeah.
So going into it, no fear. Like it's another, here we go. Like that's another birth. I remember Stacy, I sat back in her hands at one point, and the strength in her hands was so amazing, because I had an OP baby. Didn't know that the baby was OP, but which means posterior. So her spine was to my spine. So she's facing up. Frankly, perfectly sunny side up.
How was that back labor?
It was awful. It was really horrible. The thing I remember with her is, and you will see the same kind of thread with Tegan and Kezia's births, I dilated and was fully dilated very quickly, within an hour or maybe 2 with Kezia. And then it was hours of pushing because they were back labor or, posterior. So I remember in my mind thinking it's happening so quickly, and I kept feeling like I just have to poop. I just had this feeling or the sensation. And obviously we know the baby was just sitting on my rectum. So having that constant need to push, but not having any progress, that's where my fear started to creep in, because I remember Roxanne saying at one point, well, you should be pushing by now. And knowing that I was fully dilated, and knowing that, yes, I pushed my other babies out, no problem. Declan, I only pushed less than 30 minutes. So the pushing wasn't hard for me. In fact, it's my favorite part of labor. So hearing that made me feel anxious or concerned. And I remember wanting to get away from all the people, but not knowing how to articulate that. And so I kept walking away. We had a master bedroom and a bathroom. And for for Kezia's, we did not set up a birth pool. I just filled up our tub, and I would walk away and like shut the door, and then they would follow me, and then I would walk away and like shut the door, shut them in the bathroom, and then they would follow me. But I couldn't, because it was coming so quickly, I couldn't say like,
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. There was no words happening. And it's interesting because all of my labors, I would be in my head, which is labor land, right? Like I would go inward. And so I'm just like me in this little land, and I'm not sure how to articulate outside of what's happening in my brain.
Well, that's why anticipating needs is so important as a doula and a midwife.
Yes.
And a birth partner.
Yes.
Kids can't do that, but
yeah, but truly, like knowing, hey, something doesn't look quite right. Maybe she needs water, or maybe she's hot, or
hey, she keeps closing the door in our face. Maybe she wants to be left alone.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. I remember looking at Josh one time and being like, can you just ask them to all go away? I never said that. But in my mind, I was thinking that and like hoping that it would somehow transmute into words.
You would read your mind.
Yes, exactly. Men don't read minds, just for the record. So I think her total labor was like 3 or 4 hours, but I was fully dilated really quickly.
And that's still very fast.
Yeah. Oh, they were all so very fast.
Yeah. Wild that nurse was saying, well, she should be pushing by now. It's like, it was still a 3 or 4 hour labor.
Yeah. Well, because again, I'm the weird birth worker girl who's like, checking to see. She was right there. I could have pushed her out, but I couldn't because she was OP. It just took her a little more time to navigate my pelvis. And I don't think I said this. Seva was a CPM. Emily's a CPM. Now this time I have a CNM. Just for fun fact. So a CNM, a doula, and a nurse. Friends.
And different midwives because different locations?
All different midwives, yeah. All my children had different midwives. Which is also kind of cool. So I just remember feeling like I was pooping everywhere. And I wasn't, but I felt like I was because I felt like I had to poop. So there was a lot of squatting. I did a lot of squatting. And this is true for all of my deliveries. I am a mover. I don't stay still in one place. And so I just was up and down, but squatting was really, really key for me with Kezia. And a lot of rocking. I would like squat, lean back, go forward, get up. And that pattern happened a lot. And then walking from room to room because I was trying to get them to leave me alone. So I go into the bathroom and we get in the shower, in the tub, and it's a bathtub. My husband is 6 foot and I'm pregnant, small but pregnant. So we're both in this bathtub.
So you're planning another water birth?
I don't think I was planning anything at that point. I think I just was like, get the water in the tub because I was kind of getting frantic in my mind because I wasn't pushing, and now I'm thinking, well, I should be pushing. So we get in the bathtub and he's behind me and I'm reclined on him and I'm trying to push, and I deliver her head, and I lifted up probably because she was OP, and there was a different sensation, right? Her face is navigating the vaginal vault differently. So I remember feeling like pain up in my clitoral hood. And so I lifted up, and then her head was out of water. So I had to stand up to deliver the rest of her because you can't, once the baby's out of water, you can't go back. So she was delivered, her head was delivered in a semi-reclined position, and then I stood to deliver her body. So the midwife caught her, and then I sat back down and had her on my chest. And then the rest was uneventful until postpartum. So we'll do a postpartum because she had a really rough postpartum.
Do a quick little overview, though, of that, because I feel like touching on the negligence of this midwife is a little important to the story.
Yeah, so as a birth worker and as a seasoned now 3-time home birthing mom, there were lots of red flags, not even pink flags, like blazing red flags, because I was having to ask her a lot of things along the way. And this, again, it's God. I remember for Kezia really feeling strongly about having a GBS test. And so I asked her, like, hey, like, shouldn't you be asking me about GBS and like giving me some informed consent things?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, yeah, do you want that? And I'm
Interesting as a CNM, though.
yeah, well, she was totally hands off. She often sent her birth assistants to do prenatals, all postpartums.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds so familiar. So lots of little red flags, but so I was GBS negative because I asked and I did do the test. And so this is key for later in the postpartum. The midwife used dirty tools to cut her cord and to tend to Kezia. So she contracted a severe systemic strep B infection through her umbilical cord. And so we were soon admitted. It was actually, and I always have said it was 2 weeks, but now I'm thinking that it was, I think she required we go to the pediatrician at 72 hours. I don't think it was two weeks. As I was preparing all of this, I was like, actually, she wasn't even 2 weeks old yet, because that's when the follow-up with her assistant came. Anyway, so we went to the pediatrician. We had TRICARE at the time. We had to get established, blah, blah, blah. So it was more the 72-hour mark. And he could hear she was grunting. She was retracting. She had swelling at her umbilicus. And he said, drive to the emergency room right now. I'm calling ahead. They will get you in a room. He didn't tell me what was happening. He said, your baby is very sick. Go straight there. Don't go home. Don't pass go. Go. I'm not even waiting for an ambulance because you need to get there right now. So I did. They admitted me. We were there for 3 days.
That must have been really scary to hear that.
It was really scary to hear that. And as a mom, I felt really guilty because I was like, how did I not notice this? And I've since processed, it's my third baby.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize. I do now. But also my midwife was reassuring me and also never came back. It was the birth assistant who came back, who I love still to this day. Love her dearly. Lori Stillwagon, you're amazing if you ever watch this. Again, no family. All my children were delivered in places where we don't have family around. So she ended up having this severe systemic strep infection that required IV antibiotics and 24-hour monitoring for 3 days, and blood draws every 3 hours to make sure that her kidneys and liver weren't shutting down. I think the point there for me was know your providers and don't just go on titles, which I know we're going to do a whole podcast on titles and the letters that come after names. Because of the midwives I've used, the argument would be, well, she's a CNM, so she has the highest degree of training. And yet she was a negligent midwife and actually had many cases against her, lost her license in 2 states, lost moms and babies. So
that's really scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
It's very, very scary.
Didn't she also leave your placenta?
Yeah, so she put my placenta in a bowl and put the placenta print like leaning up against the bowl. And it just sat on my counter, on my dresser for days. We didn't know it was up there. Usually a midwife will like take it and ask or like put it in a fridge or whatever. But it just sat up there to rot, and we kept smelling this horrible smell. We were like, what is that smell? And also, where the heck is the placenta? Anyway, it ended up being the rotting placenta up on the counter. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it was rough. But
what did you do with the placenta at that point?
We buried all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my first I buried under a tree. My second I kept to consume just in case I had postpartum anxiety. again, which I didn't, so we planted that one under a tree. Yeah, we planted all of them.
Love that.
So they're all over the nation in our different
That's awesome.
places. Yeah.
That's so awesome. We'll leave this story here for now, right in the middle of Nichole's journey through motherhood and birth work. There are still 2 more births to come, each bringing both challenge and beauty, and weaving even deeper threads into her calling. When you're ready, step into the next part to continue walking beside her.
Thank you for entering the birth room with us, a space where stories breathe, wisdom flows, and the veil between heaven and earth grows thin. If today's episode stirred something in you, we invite you to linger with it, to share it, to sit with it, to carry it into your own sacred spaces. Follow the Birth Room podcast and connect with us as we continue to remember, reclaim, and surrender birth together. Until next time, walk gently, surrender wholly, and never forget, birth is holy ground.